Which new year are you celebrating? The Gregorian calendar's January 1st? The BioGenetic New Year of Gene Key 41? Or the Galactic New Year of the 13-moon calendar? What if these cycles weren't in conflict, but part of a greater harmonic design? In this episode, we'll explore how overlapping cosmic cycles, planetary alignments, and genetic codings are calling us to align with a new rhythm for humanity. Welcome to Which New Year? The dawn of a new harmonic.
Tune in with the Galactic Spin podcast and expand your view.
In Lakesh, and greetings out there to all planetary kin and those tuning in. Welcome to the Galactic Spin podcast. My name is Mikuak Rai, Kin 126. I am honored to be your host on this journey alongside my co-host and brother, Ruben Llinás, Kin 113. In Lakesh, brother Ruben, how's it going, man? Are you able to hear me? Uh-oh. Looks like we might be stuck there. I'm not sure what's going on with the feed. Did we get disconnected? All right, hang in there with us. With a different code. So let's see about doing that. One moment. Yeah, unfortunately, we're having a little technical challenge right now. But please hold on and we'll be right forward. Thank you, everybody. All right. Thank you, everybody, as you navigate our technical challenges with us. Thanks for your grace and your patience. Brother Ruben, I was just introducing the show, welcoming folks to the Galactic Spin podcast and checking in with you. Greetings, Evin Lakesh. How you doing, brother?
Greetings, brother. Can you hear me well?
Oh, yeah. Hear you nice.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I think it probably is too much energy. And right when we were as soon as the intro video finished, my computer froze and I need to restart again.
Okay,
But-
okay. Well, shout outs to Ishel for that great intro video, by the way. We don't want to distract from that. And Thank you for that great intro video, Ishel, and big up to Alejandra as well behind the scenes, holding us up with the good energy and the navigation of this voyage that we are continuing. I mean, here we are. This is episode 14. We realize that many people are still reveling and crossing this new year threshold. We asked the question tonight, though, which new year? Which new year are we really talking about at this point? Because, in this world of information, obviously, we're learning more in this information age, in this transformation age. And along with that comes other markers, new
Yes.
information, new perspectives, new worldviews, the evolution of our species ultimately. And as we navigate that, then we're also invited to consider multiple worldviews and cosmovisions in
Yes.
terms of the point of origin for life and creation itself, and when is the new year? When is the new beginning? Is it January 1st in the Gregorian calendar, this 443-year-old Gregorian artifice? That's arguable. It could be argued that it is. Though we'd like to explore tonight some other aspects of observing time cycles and timekeeping
Yes.
systems. So it's going to be a great, great conversation.
Yes, and I think that the important aspect that we need to keep in mind is that this is a window of endings and new beginnings. This is what the codes of time are telling us now, and also I was reading this morning the latest. Daniel Pinchbeck. Can you hear me? Because I see myself a little frozen. I cannot hear you at the moment.
There we go. I was also
There we
muted.
go. There we go.
We're
Yeah, well,
figuring it out.
I was
Figuring it out.
saying that I was reading this morning the latest writing from Daniel Pinchbeck, and he was speaking about his book, The Return of Quetzalcoatl, that he published before 2012, and that now he's relaunching. So big shout out to Daniel
Okay.
for
Oh, that's
for
amazing. We're going to have to
yes.
invite him on into the conversation. I mean, that would be great.
Yes, I was curious because I have no idea the book was being republished, but it's a book that, of course, he goes into the theories of the end of times and the eschaton and the singularity, and we are hearing more of that in the media. Alternative media are also covering these the whole conversation about the new stages that AI is reaching. So there is, of course, a big shift happening. It has been happening already for some years, since 2020 especially. But I think that with the acceleration of or the explosion of technology and artificial intelligence, the process is now tapping into an exponential progression. So this acceleration that Terence McKenna spoke about and that Daniel also touches on, it's being felt. And of course, when we start a new year, the Gregorian year is already loaded with significance for many people, because it's a time of the year that people just kind of stop and contemplate life with a different view, with the idea of seeing what has been achieved and setting new goals and new dreams. And of course, that's the important aspect that we need to keep in mind, is that we are in this progressive and accelerating start of something new, a new stage for humanity, and we are so happy to be able to be part of this conversation in real time. That we can have the tools and the curiosity actually to explore other endings and beginnings without just attaching our entire life to either the Gregorian calendar or the 13 moon calendar or the lunar Chinese lunar calendar, because time and calendars have special meaning for many people, but all those meanings are kind of converging now, and
Yeah.
and the prophecies are all have been always speaking about these times. So it's exciting. It's just exciting to start these next 13 episodes with the synchronization with the Gregorian year. So
Mm.
this is going to be today an interesting introduction to this conversation, because as we approach these new markers, because January 1st is only one of these different markers, we will expand on them, and we hope that we can all learn in the process as we have been learning.
Indeed. Indeed. Yes, brother. Well, I tell you what, let's get right into it without further ado. And thank you for everybody tuning in with us tonight, all over the world. And we are going to check in with the Earth's pulse. All right. One moment. There we
Oh,
have everybody in the scene. Oh my goodness! It must be the solar flare activity. There's a lot
I
going on. Maybe sometimes we could call it interference, or just the fact that
Mhm.
we're being solarized and affected, on subtle and overt levels. So let's get right into it. What's happening with our
Yes.
sun?
Well, this dovetails really well into the conversation, because we had the start of a new Gregorian year, as we presented 7 days ago, that cycles of time. And I don't know if are we live?
Yeah, we're
Yes,
live. We're live. Yeah,
we are
no,
live.
we're
Okay.
live. Sorry about that.
Just I saw myself frozen. So
Yeah, no,
and
you're live.
yeah, the cycles of the sun, basically the activity cycles. The sun has a biorhythm, as we have a biorhythm, as the earth has a biorhythm. And sometimes when there is an explosion on the, it can be like a solar flare when it's an electromagnetic explosion or shortcut between the two magnetic areas of the sun that are opposite. And the like I said, that the effect of those flares are sometimes what are called coronal mass ejections. So sometimes the explosion is just like a radiation, and sometimes it comes with plasma. If there is a coronal mass ejection, in this case, it was only a geomagnetic storm that we observed on Earth on from January 1st to January 2nd, and actually January 2nd on the Solkin count was a blue planetary storm. So this geomagnetic storm was took place basically, as we can see on the slide. It started to peak. The red started to be, we started to arrive when we were entering already January 2nd. So the the interesting thing about this, if we go to the next slide, is that it presented this type of auroras in low latitudes. So we have some of these images are from, I think the one in the left is from Baja California Sur here in Mexico. And on the right one we have in France, which is also like a lower latitude for auroras to show up. And we have these magenta colors, no? Which is the color of transmutation. And this is a beautiful synchronicity. Time is art. And when we have these displays of beauty in the sky to celebrate the entrance of a new orbit of the sun, even if it's through the Gregorian calendar, well, it's auspicious, because there is no need of artificial fireworks when the Earth and the sun and the universe can produce these type of spectacles. And this is also a great way to start today, the 13-day cycle of the night, that we will go in depth later. But this geomagnetic storm succeeded basically on January 3rd, but we can see these, again, the colors, the greens, bright greens and pinks. And since then, we have had like a major spike in solar activity since, as we can see, since January 3rd. In the last 3 days, we have had 3 X flares. That's 1 X flare per day. And also for people to have an idea, there are 4 types of flares: A, M, A, B, M, and X. No, A, B, C, M, and X. So X is the strongest category, and each category is 10 times the one before, so it's 10 times more energy. So let's say that an M1 flare compared to an X1 flare is 10 times the power. So when that happens, we can have, as this report says, experience intermittent loss of signal between 20 megahertz during local daylight hours. So maybe a little bit of the technical difficulties that we are experiencing is that we are still coming out of this, and all these flares have been Earth directed. So when the explosion happened on the sides of the sun, or when the sun on the backside of the sun, well, we don't feel it in such a way that we are feeling it right now. But again, this is the 2025 is the peak of the year of solar cycle 25, the peak of the biorhythm of the sun, of our star. We can see here the last 2 solar cycles, and this one seems to be really picking up. What scientists foresee is that July is going to be the most activity, because it's the summer, the time in the northern hemisphere, and usually there is a peak of solar activity during those months of the Gregorian year. So we can expect that this activity will keep increasing. And the good news is that these energies are helping our DNA to evolve. And that's what we are going to speak later today, because this is a summary of what we presented 7 days ago. 2025 is a special year in many, many ways. Is the year of 9 vibration, and we explore a little bit about it, starting with adding the digits of 2025 is the number 9, which means completion. And we also learn after last episode that is a perfect square. Not only is a perfect square the year 2025 of 45 cycles of 45 years each, but the fact that is also the result of adding the cube of all the numbers from 1 to 9. So 1 to the cube plus 2 to the cube plus 3 to the cube plus 4 to the cube until 9 to the cube is 2025. So those measures and those numbers are indicators that this year, that is the year of the harmonic intersection of timelines, it's starting with more signs of harmony and perfection. Because when the circle meets the square, like an orbit of the sun meets these square containers, well, we have the perfect union of masculine and feminine, of space and time, the square and the circle. And the fact that the number 9 is the universal solvent. That's why the game Sudoku is a matrix of 9 that people can feel, and all the sides should add to 9. So it's the quality of the 9 is very powerful, and the year 2025 started on January 1st, which is on the Soul King count was King 178, the white solar mirror. And that tone, the solar tone, is tone 9, and the mirror is the seal 18, which is 9 plus 9. And the year is going to end on December 21st, 2025, which happens to be King 22, master number, white solar wind, which is the sign of the prophet Quetzalcoatl. Is the sign that appears in many archaeological sites and stelas and codices and documents across Mesoamerica as the representation of this energy or this mythic complex named Quetzalcoatl, the feather serpent. So this is reflected in pyramids, in the prophecies, in the entire architecture of the Maya. The pyramids have 9 levels. Chichen Itza, Cobá, the Temple of Inscriptions in Palenque, they all have 9 levels. So the completion of these containers, holographic containers of time, and the convergence of these numerical aspects with the cyclical aspects, and with the fact that we have this golden proportion or golden number coming on October 14, 15, is a great way to start this countdown to, because today we're 280 days from this golden intersection. So we're basically one harmonic of 20 days harmonic run to enter into those 260 days of gestation to the golden intersection. And we want really to have our bodies, our hearts, and our minds open and receptive to these new harmonics that are entering the earth, and that the numerology and the astronomy are confirming that we are into a harmonic timeline. We are navigating that.
And it's about time, many of us have been here anticipating this, for ages, it seems. Obviously, I think the collective has been long awaiting a shift of this magnitude. And it's true, we're having a most interesting moment, because along with this energetic shift, we're also experiencing and witnessing the technological shift. and the expression that that has in its own evolution. Everything is evolving. Everything is accelerating. And this window and the Gregorian frame of 2025 to 2030 in particular presents a very interesting opportunity in many ways, but also something to pay attention to, because our lives are, while we're not really paying attention, we are becoming more and more affected by technology, and technology is rapidly reaching levels of intelligence that, in many ways go beyond human cognition. Basically, like we have certain abilities and certain skills and talents. We can see certain things. However, as the AI technology is being trained and evolved in its own sense, it is proving to be very capable of complex situations and tasks and a myriad of things. I mean, people are beginning to turn to their ChatGPT, for example, for self-analysis. They're getting reflection back from their AI helper or assistant, of psychological matters, emotional matters, even. Because everything, as far as the framework for the AI is concerned, it boils down to data sets, and it's obviously sampled and learned from a myriad of data sets concerning human emotion or human dilemma or human conflict, or you name it. I mean, obviously these large language models have been absorbed in our human affairs. And so we find ourselves at now a stage where the acceleration is such that it's out the bag. And I think that, because the technology leaders that are largely responsible for some of these accelerations of the technology, of the programming in that direction, they know that it's beyond even their ability. Like at this point, you can't get the cat back in the bag. And, it's interesting because I think there's also the opportunity now at this dawning of a new harmonic, as we're characterizing it right now, to find relational synthesis with AI technology. And by that, what I mean is recognize it as a reflective tool that is going to be trained by us, by either the highest aspirational us or by other dynamics that we as humans may express, and some of them may not be so favorable. But while it's sampling all of humanity and all the data that has been collected at this point by all the major corporations and all these think tanks and everything, it's getting a really robust view on human behavior. And so it's interesting because obviously all of the sci-fi movies for decades have been telecasting, projecting into the future this situation that we're actually squarely in right now. So if we go as far back as 2001, A Space Odyssey, the Stanley Kubrick film from the late 60s, that film was in many cases one of the first, cinematic exposés on what is at risk as our computer, our HAL, was the name of the computer in that movie, right? And I learned many years ago, if you look at the letters HAL and move them all forward one letter, you get IBM. So interesting. IBM at the very forefront of AI and the technology, forefront for decades as well. So again, it's just an interesting moment. I mean, we're hearing now the word more and more frequently tossed around, that being singularity. Where are we finding ourselves in that conversation? And all of this is coming up as part of a crescendo, it seems, of energy that's also being amplified by the solar reality of what's actually expressing from our sun. So it's a really, really interesting moment.
Yes, and of course, it it is bringing this emerging consciousness that is part of, like you mentioned before, is a reflection of ourselves, is developing or evolving in ways that we cannot really fully comprehend.
No.
And I was listening today to one of the people that I follow on AI news, and he was sharing that for us to grasp the intelligence that are what is the concept of not artificial intelligence per se, but super artificial intelligence, like a really advanced intelligence, that for us to comprehend that, it would be equal to an ant trying to comprehend human thinking. It's impossible because we have not evolved to that point of tapping into all those possibilities. But of course, we are evolved enough, and we're part of the organic evolution of the earth and the universe that took millions of billions of years to bring us to this point.
Yeah. It's very interesting in considering that it took that long to bring us to this point, yet where it might go in the next few years in comparison to the previous millions of years is really quite uncanny. So interesting. I mean,
Yeah.
everything that we've ever been taught or led to believe or think at this point is up for re-examination across the board. I mean, one of the things obviously we anchor is really looking at the effects of the calendar on consciousness at the underpinning of all this activity. But just the simple fact that, you know, that's just one discrepancy, among a culture of discrepancies. Or shall we say we've been the blind leading the blind in many cases. And then the blind leading the blind are usually doing it through force and oppression. So we're dealing with so many layers of trauma, whether it be familial trauma, cultural trauma, social trauma. We're so traumatized, while at the same time we're also now being thrust into this accelerating curve with a bunch of trauma and a bunch of other stuff that it's like, imagine going into a blender. It's like, it's just a very dicey, situation, pun intended, I suppose. But just to say that, it's a very important at this time that we are gentle with ourselves. Like the adage, you can't love someone else if you don't love yourself. Well, we want to be gentle with ourselves so that we can respond accordingly with others right now, because so much unattended trauma is just beneath the surface. Everybody is likely easily triggered. That's another symptom of really being under the pressure of the solar impact right now. It's just we're being so impacted to evolve, and we're in a way being pushed through a filter of solar energy.
Yeah.
So what is happening to us biophysiologically, energetically, emotionally, in that process? It's very interesting. And that's where, again, being gentle and taking the time to more so still ourselves so that we can contemplate how we're being impacted. So we can contemplate then how we're impacting others, and then how we're stepping into this golden opportunity. How are we meeting this golden opportunity, which again is the impetus for us, the inspiration for us in continuing to come here week after week, heptad after heptad, to present this information to folks to consider where we are as a collective right now. We're looking at unprecedented weather and things like that occurring in that particular space, while we're also looking at unprecedented transformation and transmutation of timeline trauma. Like, we're in such a window of opportunity. We think of the opportunity, the golden opportunity, it's not necessarily gold like the Midas touch, like it's the opportunity to succeed in the material vein. It's really the opportunity to return to source alignment. Like that's the real opportunity. And we're being supported in that return to source by the attending of all of the planetary bodies in our solar system, or the majority of them at least, over the coming weeks, appearing present in the night sky with Sirius and Orion and Alcyon and a myriad of other stars as the backdrop,
Yeah.
playing host to this gathering. So we're reaching this increase, of energy at this moment, and it's just really, really powerful. But as we navigate that, we really want to encourage people to just really be gentle with yourself, be gentle with each other as we navigate this newness, because sometimes when things are so new and so fresh, things can be very sensitive also. So it's like just being born anew. In other words, you want to really safeguard that new life, that precious life, and this is a time to be very very gentle, very calm. Tune into music that returns you to your center, for example. Like, of course, we can choose to listen to things or watch things that may agitate us, and sometimes it's necessary to be agitated. You don't want to become numb to things happening. Maybe some agitation is good, while at the same time find the balance and really tap into the calm now. We're already in the storm. We could say the calm before the storm, but the way that the solar amplification is going, we know that peak, we're nowhere near July.
Yeah.
We are nowhere near July, much less we don't even know what's going to happen at the end of so-called January. But by the time we get to the 13 moon Galactic New Year, and given what we're going to talk about here in a moment as well, what's being activated, what's being programmed, what's being catalyzed in us at this time, that we're actually making conscious. And like you said before, our task now is to synthesize and harmonize the various inputs that we've received from consciousness itself.
Yeah.
We're in a process of reconfiguring and reordering and realigning ourselves to God, frankly, the galactic ordering dynamic, as it were, as an acronym for prime source, for the divine source. So, and again, for us, we entered this entire exercise as ceremony. So with all the peaks and valleys of life, we are still navigating this in a ceremonial way, really holding the space with the anticipation. And we'll talk a little bit more about anticipation in a moment, but with the anticipation of something tremendous coming ahead. So let's get in, let's sink in and tune up and really get some clarity in our coordinates where we find ourselves in this navigation frequency. Okay.
Yes.
And as always, with this segment, we like to begin with just observing that we are in the blue rhythmic storm year, coded by kin number 19, that being the blue rhythmic storm galactic signature. And that therefore impacts, charges, instructs the course of the entire 13 moon year that we're currently navigating. And would you love to add anything to that there, Ruben?
Yeah, no, just to remind ourselves that these as like the start of the year always impregnates the whole year with the energy of the first day. So for those people who are not familiar, well, this galactic year or new Sirius cycle, number 1.37, is the 37th solar orbit since the new dispensation of time in 1987. And this cycle is coded by number 19, which is kin 19, the blue rhythmic storm, and that's a sacred number in many traditions. in the Maya tradition specifically, is the saturation point of the cosmology that goes from 0 to 19, not from 1 to 20 like we count in the Western world. But the fact that it started with that number, it impregnates the whole year, the whole 13-month year with that energy. And this is the number of this actual cycles of the moon, called the metonic cycle, that is a 19-year cycle. So here is the flower of life that has 19 circles that creates the pattern. And this is a pattern of creation comprised by 19 circles. So we are completing something really, really sacred and powerful this year. And the fact that this Gregorian year also started on the day Kin 178, the solar mirror, that solar energy is going to impregnate the whole year with the qualities of the white solar mirror, which is order, the reflection of order and endlessness, and the tone 9, which is the tone of intention, pulsing the intention. So the entire year is coded by the blue rhythmic storm, and that entire year comprised by 13 moons. We are in the 6th moon of the year, the rhythmic moon, and what we see here is the structure of the wave spell, which is the 13-unit cycle. This hologram can be comprised of 13 days, 13 weeks, 13 months, 13 years, and what we are measuring at the harmonic factor is that fractal quality of 13, how we can really use these smaller containers and greater containers of time within the same fractal of 13 units. We are right now transiting the last week. We are in the middle of the 4th week of, or heptad of the 6th moon of the year. And that means that this entire cycle of 13 corresponds also to a cycle of 13 energies, or 13 kin, on the soul kin count of 260 units. And what we can see in the next slide is precisely that this entire year, like we have been mentioning, is coded by the yellow human. This is the 12th solar seal of the Solkin matrix, and it's all about our free will and our capacity to influence with wisdom our life and our surroundings. So right now we are moving from that 6th moon to the 7th, and the 7th, which would be our next episode, we will be already on the 7th moon, is the resonant moon of attunement. And as we see, is the next energy is going to be the white mirror, white resonant mirror, which is a perfect to enter the perfect half of the 13 moon year. Is the mirror quality of splitting the year with 6 units to one side and 6 units on the other, and the 7th unit being the heart, or the central axis of the entire year. So we are shifting from the energy of the red rhythmic earth that is coding this entire moon. This is according, again, for those people who are new or who are following a different way of tracking the moons. This is based on the 20 tablets of the law of time, the fractal count of 1 kin equals 1 moon, that was introduced by Dr. Jose Arguelles Galubotan and Loidin Burris on Bolonic or in 1997, with the start of the repartnering of the DNA to 1320 frequency. That period from 1997 to 2013 was called the cube of the law, and this is kind of the process of evolution that this count has been having. Since then, we have been tracking since that year, July 26, 1997, was the first year that each moon was corresponding to the fractal count of one king. And that was that magnetic moon was magnetic dragon, and the second moon would be the lunar wind. And we keep counting until we reach 260 moons. And we reached those 260 moons back, I think, in 2017.
Yep, 2017.
Since then, we have been counting moons. Every 13 moon years, basically one wave spell of one cycle of 13 units of the Solkin matrix. And that's how this is being accounted for. The same way we are accounting the 52 weeks of the year as 4 cycles of 13, one castle. So this is the fractal quality or the fractal nature that allows us to really see these nested fractals. And when the fractals nest in harmonic ways, because not always the 52-week fractal align with the 50-year fractal, for instance, or the 50-moon fractal aligns with the. Sometimes when they meet, we are reaching like higher levels of resonance, and we tend to experience more synchronicity. So we are entering into this resonant moon, which is the next slide, into that quality of resonating at a fractal scale with the heart of the Solkin. So as we can see, we are here in that green square at the bottom. It's January 6th. Today is the Feast of Epiphany for the Gregorian calendar. The Feast of the Kings, of the Three Kings also. This that we mentioned last episode is connected to the Star of Orion. And there is an entire archetypal story happening in the sky that is resembling the story of the birth of the Christ. And that's what we are basically enacting here on Earth. We are enacting a story that is happening taking place in the stars. And at a fourth dimensional level, which is the codes of the synchronic order and the 13-month 28-day calendar synchronometer, we are entering into the heart of the 13-moon year, which is the seventh moon. And that heart, as we can see, is connected to the heart of the Solkin, in terms that we have been navigating 20 cycles of 7 days that we call week, but that the real name is heptads, which cycles of 7 days. And for instance, in this moon, we have the first 7 days were entirely coded by the red galactic serpent king 125. The 22nd heptad was coded with your king, the white solar sky wall bridger, and we are now on as we can see on week 24.
Yeah,
this is called by the yellow spectral star. So in 4 days, when we start the next moon, which is the next slide, we will enter the harmonic 33 of the 260 heptad fractal of 260 weeks.
I wanted to mention that week or heptad 22, as you mentioned, 22 is the guide power also of
Yes.
126. So the fact
Yes.
that fractally 126 was coding that entire 7 day, the 22nd heptad, I think is quite interesting.
Yeah, that we had the solstice on a solar tone. That's the kind of the synchronicities that we
Yeah.
start to make conscious as we navigate, because sometimes they just pop when, like now, when we can see the significance of the numbers speaking to us.
Absolutely. And moving into the moon of attunement, coded by the tone 7, the tone of attunement. And then this particular moon, as you mentioned, will be the resonant mirror moon.
Yeah.
So we can see, and I love how the graphic shows us also where we are on the golden ratio of the year, how you have the markers there spanning in the green, just to give
Yeah.
a sense that this is moon 7, and we know moon 8 and the passage to moon 9 is the second golden intersection of the 13 moon year. So we're going to
Yes.
soon approach that in a couple of moons. But certainly this seventh moon of attunement is exactly that, because as you mentioned, it does represent the column, the spinal column, the center through
Yeah.
which inspiration is channeled and inspired further in the experience. And then let me also bring forward perhaps this next graphic as we look at
Yeah.
what's to come. We have some exciting things happening in that first heptad of the
Yeah.
resonant moon. Some pretty significant things. Maybe you want to talk about day 3?
Yeah, we like we will see when in the infographic that we prepare for the waste bill, everything that is happening on that day. But for the moment, we can say that this is the seventh moon of the 13th moon year, and that day is going to be the kin 189 7 moon, tone 7, and the solar seal is solar seal 9, which is the moon. So we will have a day resonant moon nested within the resonant moon. Even though it feels funny or
Mm,
curious, well, that we pay more attention that day than any other day. When the tone of the day is resonating with the tone of the moon, it's called a magic turtle day.
hmm
So we will have the first magic turtle day of that entrance to the harmonic 33 of 4 heptads, in which we have 260 heptads. Again, that's the small map on the right. Is each unit of the Solkin is 7 days, is not one day. That's the fractal quality that we introduced just a couple of years ago on the harmonic synchronometer. So this is basically a new layer that we saw very important to bring forward, because it gives these type of insights that when we were preparing the art for the almanac is when this really showed up. Is that the center of the Solkin is going to synchronize with the center of the entire 13 moon year. So basically, we will have on January 24th, which would be Jose Arguelles' return, synchronizing with Jacob Wyatt return. So
Yeah.
on that resonant 15, we will be at the 0 point of a 260 heptad matrix.
Let's think about this a little bit too, because I want people to get the sense that when they see these markers, these terminologies, resonant moon, for example, and we're talking about other significant events happening in this coming moon, very significant celestial events happening in the resonant moon. it's important that we begin to recognize that what these layers are doing is they're revealing harmonics. They're revealing harmonic layers. When we
Yes.
say fractal, we may as well say harmonic as well, because there's a relationship there. And so this is so elegant when you really appreciate what you're seeing in terms of being in the resonant moon, like you said, and being within that 33rd that 33rd harmonic, right? Or I guess the harmonic right there.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's powerful.
Yeah. For those people who are also new or who are not familiar with all the terms, a harmonic within the Solkin count is a 4-day cycle or a 4-unit cycle.
Yes.
Case is a harmonic of 4 moons instead of 4 days. One harmonic is always comprised by these 4 colors: red, white, blue, yellow. Red initiates, the white refines, blue transforms, yellow ripens. So that's the most basic unit of time is a harmonic. And
Wow.
we are within the Solkin, we have 65 harmonics or cycles of 4 units, 4
Yes.
moons, 4 days, and we happen to be transiting in 3 days when we finish this rhythmic moon of the rhythmic storm year, because the resonance already started there. When the 6th moon is resonating with the year bearer, the tone that started the year, like we mentioned at the beginning. So we are entering is just into a higher pitch of resonance right now, because we are entering that heart of that matrix. And the beauty of it is that 7 planets are entering right there too. While we are entering in the 4th dimensional hologram, that intersection, that sacred center of the 260 unit matrix, the planets are aligning on the 3rd dimension. That's where we have a space time alignment or a time space alignment. When what is happening below is happening above, and above that too, which is the invisible realms. And yeah, it's really amazing. It's beautiful to see it actually taking place in real time, because every day becomes like a surprise, a new gift in which we learn about these alignments and these planetary parades just with enough time to prepare ourselves, and that's why we have been speaking about this. The importance of this planetary lineup that is going to take place on January 21st, right there. Starts from the 21st to the 25th, right? It's kind of the peak.
There's a peak.
Because
There's a peak of that alignment in that window, exactly. That begins in perfect timing with the beginning of the BioGenetic New Year, the start codon, gene key 41, which we'll talk about in a moment. But I think what's very interesting is today's title is the dawn of a new harmonic. And here we're sharing that in the resonant moon to come, we will literally be nested in a holon, within the resonant moon, inside that 33rd harmonic, based on the 1 kin equals 1 heptad fractal.
Yes.
So for people again to appreciate kin 129, 130, 131, 132, like those 4 kin are so powerful. It's such an auspicious alignment. I'm actually only really making that conscious right now to realize, like, wow, we're sitting in that resonant tone of attunement for that whole moon while we're having this interplay with the celestial bodies right here in our night sky. And so, seven and the BioGenetic New Year, which is having epigenetically an effect on us generally speaking, we're being directly impacted by the celestial bodies at this point, like every single one of us.
Yeah.
So again, this is such a precious opportunity to still ourselves and really revel in the stillness of the magnanimity, if that's a word, of what's happening in the celestial as above, so below. Because it's truly a golden invitation. This is the kind of thing, like when you've received an invitation of such a high degree to go to someplace so sacred, think about how you're going to prepare to go there. What disposition, what's your attitude, what are your thoughts, what are you focusing on? That's the window that we're now, I think, really beginning to see before our very eyes, just given the code of what's on the screen right now. And we're looking at the perfect balance point, nested within the resonant moon of the year. There's this 33rd harmonic. It's just unbelievable.
Yeah.
So the center of the Zolkin is literally resting right there. That's just so perfect.
Yes.
It's perfect.
And that means that we're let's keep in mind that in this fractal count, every year is 4 cycles of 13 heptads or weeks, which the name for that cycle of 52 units is a castle. So the Solkin matrix has 5 castles, so 5 castles of 52 kin each. That means that in 5 years we complete 260 heptads. So we are entering at the heart of that 5-year period that is connecting or is bridging us to 2027, and what we are going to speak later today about the activation of the new hologram in the gene keys.
Exactly.
Human design.
And I think, again, the reason we wanted to illuminate this tonight is because we do know that there's all the reverie around the new year, the Gregorian New Year, and what that means on many layers of meaning for many different people for many different reasons. And all of them are fine. What we don't want you to miss, what we don't want you to miss out making conscious is, as we phase through this biogenetic new year, the invitation to be conscious about what that invites for you individually and for the collective is really before us. And that, to me, is a much stronger indication of a new beginning, a qualitative shift, because we're talking about a biogenetic transformation. We're not talking about just necessarily a religious marker or the holidays around which we know the Gregorian calendar is crafted that celebrate a particular worldview. But in many cases, that worldview also cuts you off from your source, even though it may pretend to give you a greater relationship with your source. It's interesting because it does, unfortunately, whether unintended or intended, it creates almost barriers in a sense. Like, we want to recognize that right now we're being invited to really move into, I think, an orientation of direct communion, direct communication with your higher self, frankly, and with the Creator, with whom we're each equally aligned. And that's the beautiful thing as well. So as we navigate this awareness, we want people to also appreciate the elegant simplicity, the symmetry that they see when they see the array of these beautiful infographics. They're just beautiful, for one, to look at, but then as you really understand and appreciate what you're looking at, the patterns, the codes, it really begins to resonate more and more deeply. And the synchronicities just, again, pop out. As you've pointed out in episodes past, we're dealing with the human fertility cycle, referred to as the cyclic order, and that really being the frequency of the fertility count, 13 months, 28-day cycle. And we know by this marker that currently we're in the rhythmic moon. We've crossed that initial golden intersection of the year when we went from overtone moon into the rhythmic moon, and we're now going to soon make the transition into the resonant moon. And that finds us right there in the very center when we look at that graphic. Now, to know that resonant moon is also directly on the fractal scale, aligning with the very center of the Zolkin is quite interesting. But then also to simply note where we are in the current cycle on the human gestation cycle, or that of the synchronic order, the 1320, otherwise also referred to as the galactic, measure in a sense. When you look at the harmonic module or the Zolkin count, because
Yes.
it's a fractal yardstick in its own. It is a certain measure as well. 26,000 years, 2,600 years, 260 days. There are ways that it also operates fractally that would
Yeah.
apply to us individually, but also to events and things of this nature.
Yeah. 26 weeks, which is what we are going to complete at the heart of that seventh moon. And let's remind our audience that what we are aligning now with these planetary lineups and the solar activity just peaking is basically with our evolution. Our DNA has an intelligence embedded in it that is connected to the solar frequencies and the planetary frequencies. So the 13 moon 28-day synchronometer and the Tzolk'in are really tools to connect with our biorhythms.
Mm.
with the with the cat
Speaking of
and with,
biorhythm,
yeah,
all
with
being,
everything, with life, yeah, with life, because
it's intelligent.
yes, the let's say that the Gregorian calendar is created actually to create like a this damage in our systems.
Mm.
We are for instance, starting a year according to the Gregorian calendar in the middle of winter, which is when people want to stay more quiet and more still, because the external world is asking us to do so. But the energy is saying push forward in the middle of the winter.
Mm.
For a country like the U.S., being frozen at the beginning of the productive year doesn't make any sense, but that's type of nonsense that we live
Yeah.
without questioning it.
Mm. Mm.
So we now have like an opportunity to really align with what is happening in the stars above, not
Mm.
the drama and the the nonsense that has been happening on the earth. That doesn't mean that we don't keep our feet on the ground and
Yes.
and stay connected to the third dimension.
Mm.
But it is basically a way to becoming conduits for that energy to bring our consciousness to the next level, so that we can evolve according to the patterns of nature, and in a way reharmonize our bodies, our minds, and our hearts to the natural time frequencies.
Mm-hmm.
So every time that we engage in tracking these cycles at a cellular level, something deeper is happening. It's like our biology is a reflection of these frequencies. The 13 joints, the 20 fingers and toes,
Yes.
the 28 phalanges for the moon. So basically, we are antennas, receptive antennas for these energies to connect our DNA and to awaken something in us that is dormant.
Mm.
What scientists call today junk DNA is really DNA that is about to sprout. And what a beautiful way to to do that, more than just tracking the sun, the moon, the stars, and becoming aware that there is another reality happening, a higher reality taking place beyond all this drama that we are seeing, and that is also lining up for January 20th. We have the big event in the US that is going to affect the whole world, and a lot of people keep talking just about that, when there is a lot more,
Yeah.
great, bigger and greater
It's
happening.
part of the challenge, though, because we do live in a hologram. Like,
Hmm.
we are living in a malleable scenario, yet it's also like living within an amplifier. So with so much attention focused on what's going to come on January 20th and all of this, that's going to suck a lot of air out of the room, unfortunately, as it relates to entering the biogenetic new year.
Yeah.
Again, we'll touch on that in a moment. But what you're seeing currently on the screen, though, is the current wave spell that we've just entered as of today. So this is, again, one of those fractal cycles within the Zolkin matrix. There are 20 of these 13-day cycles called wave spells. We're now navigating the 15th such cycle, referred to as the blue magnetic night, the blue night wave spell. And the code that is activated today, each of these galactic signatures does have a code or affirmation attributed to it that's a combination of the, basically an expression of the qualities and the numbers of the given code, of its combination of its solar seal and its tone. So the blue magnetic night, number 183, kin number 183, I unify in order to dream, attracting intuition. I seal the input of abundance with the magnetic tone of purpose. I am guided by my own power doubled. And, this is going to take us through the 13-day cycle that culminates on kin 195, and that's the blue cosmic eagle. So the eagle is effectively the magic flight of the night, of the blue night. And so the eagle states, I endure in order to create, transcending mind. I seal the output of vision with the cosmic tone of presence. I am guided by the power of self-generation. Now, I really want to invite people to take this 13-day cycle that we're now entering to heart, because you really want to fortify yourself energetically, psychically, spiritually, as we do enter again what's going to be a lot of interference in the realm of media, things like this, because of now this incoming administration in the United States. And it, as I said, it's going to suck a lot of air out of the room while all these other amazing celestial golden events are happening. Now, granted, number 47 is going to be out there talking about the golden age of America and all of that. And that's a beautiful parallel to the fact that we are in a golden window. This is the most beautiful moment, as Mama Audrey shared with us a few weeks ago, just that golden egg has cracked open. And whatever it is that we're going to proceed with right now, we want to proceed with care and intention. We want to proceed with that care and intention and really a clarity on where we place our attention. Because over the next, 2 weeks or so, your attention is going to be challenged in the sense that you're going to be, pulled into paying attention to a lot of things that you may or may not have any control over.
Yeah.
However, where we do place our attention on the things we can control, that's what's going to come to life right now. And so we don't want to miss that window of opportunity. And maybe we want to kind of speak to some of the markers here, because this is a very powerful 13-day cycle.
Yeah.
And we want to honor the 52nd birth anniversary of Stephanie South, director of the Foundation for the Law of Time. And she is kin 185. She'll be returning to her solar galactic identity as it relates to the galactic signature that she embodies, and that she is having her full solar galactic return. As you heard us mention many times, the number 52 is very significant. Our beloved brother Ruben, in fact, is in his 52nd year as well. So we like to celebrate and uplift and amplify our kin, particularly when they reach that important threshold, because that is a very, very sacred marker for many, many reasons. But it's one of those yardsticks of sorts. It's a measuring stick, that 52-year sequence or process. And we know it shows up throughout culture, throughout societies all over the world, 52 in a myriad of ways. And also in obviously the 13 moon calendar, 13 times 4 being 52, heptads or weeks, as we've talked about. So 52 is ubiquitous. So we celebrate Stephanie South's solar galactic return in a couple of days. And also in the middle of this heptad is a very, very auspicious, important marker that is signified by the galactic signature, the birth galactic signature of Pakal Votan, of all people, as well as the human being who, I want to say, however many years later was that? So you're looking at him being...
Yeah, is a fractal of this wasteful is 1830 years.
1830 years.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, 183. Wow, that's unbelievable.
1830 Solkins of difference.
Okay, 18,
So
even better, even better.
Even better.
Even better. So 1830 Zolkins. That's a beautiful example of the fractality going on here, of what happens when you do dig into these numbers. But making that conscious, that this wave spell is host to that marker of 1830 fractals or 30 Zolkins. Is that what we're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
Basically,
Wow.
This ancient figure in Palenque named Pakal Votan, who ruled for 52 years, and who was born on March 23rd, 603, was born precisely on this wasteful according to the galactic count. It is important to make the clarification, because on the ancient Maya count, he was born on 8 Ahau, the daykeeper day Ahau, which is the equivalent of Kin 60 on the Solkin count. But applying the Solkin count, the 13 month 28 day synchronometer, to the birth of Pakal back in time, we get Kin 189, the red resonant moon, which happens to be the same kin that 1830 Solkins later was born the man who would make this archaeological discovery of the tomb.
He's the one who actually found him. He's the guy, the singular guy who actually found him, which might imply a direct relationship between this ancient sage and now several generations to come, his energetic likeness in the form of the archaeologist.
Yes.
So that's just remarkable.
It's remarkable, and that small image, the thumbnail that we see there, is he
crawling out of his own
crypt, from the sarcophagus,
from his own crypt.
Yes,
like it's just bizarre. It's just bizarre, and the fact that happened in the year 1952, it's so beautiful. It's just, I mean, it's just words honestly defies description.
No, and we have been highlighting already for some years that this is the we are speaking about the master time architect. So this consciousness may have decided to return to find himself again and make this public.
And let's also note forgetting his name. Please share the name of the architect. or
Oh,
the
Alberto
archaeologist.
Ruz.
Thank you. Yeah. So when
Alberto
Alberto
Ruz.
Ruz passed, his remains are in the temple complex at Palenque. Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. That's just. I mean, that also is just so powerful, and they have a
This
beautiful
powerful.
memorial there at the park and everything to him. I mean,
Mhm.
what a significant contribution! But the fact that he bears the same galactic signature in the
Yes.
galactic count,
Yeah,
to
that's
that
just,
that that that's no that again is a supreme synchronicity.
yeah,
And so,
especially with such a
mm,
long lifespan,
right,
or we're speaking about, yeah, around 1300 years,
yeah,
1300 years,
yeah,
uh
that's a
which is the equivalent of
well,
1830 Solkins, which happens to be a fractal of 183, which is this entire waste field and is the energy of today. So it's a perfect. It's a perfect example of how resonance and
mm,
these energetic alignments just show up
yes,
in moments that we are highlighting actually the fact that this resonant moon could be happening in other moon, but it happened to synchronize the resonant moon
mm,
kin with the resonant moon, the seventh moon of the year with the kin seven moon, and and
mm,
and and that we, as we are entering that cycle, we are noticing that this difference between the arrival of one of Pakal and the archaeologists who found him is a fractal of a numerical fractal of these waves, but we just need to add a zero.
that's
So
amazing. That's amazing.
that's amazing. It's beautiful.
And then we
And
also have in a few days in this wave spell as well. You want to mention that?
no, 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 please go ahead.
Well, just the 126 Zulkans since
Mhm.
the signing of the Rorik Peace Pact. Yes, is that what we're
Yes.
looking at? Okay, and that would have occurred on April 15th, 1935, which that day
Mhm.
was Kin 192.
Yes, that's
Mm-hmm.
correct.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And the beautiful synchronicity is
Planetary.
that Jose Arguelles also received the Rorik Peace Medal uh, on King 192. So
Okay.
that's a beautiful confirmation,
Yeah. Wow.
and and the fact that this is a 126 Solkins. Well,
Mm.
it's beautiful because it's the same frequency of your kin, but
Yeah.
is actually telling us that we are about to arrive in four Solkins to the heart of a 260 Solkin cycle.
Wow.
So these markers are showing us qualities of the harmonics that are playing out in
Mm. Mm.
as we progress in time.
Yeah.
They give us a different outlook on like the 52-year benchmark or milestone is such an important point, because that's the golden rule
Mm.
to measure or to synchronize all these cycles.
Mm.
So on and to add to these synchronicities, we have also on King 194, January 17th, the 43, 43rd Solkin cycle since the discovery of the mask of the Queen Sakbuahau at Temple 13.
Mm.
And we are also doing some research, because it seems like the archaeologist who found these made this discovery, Fanny Lopez, she was born on March 8th, 1970. That happens to be red resonant moon, King 189. So we will
Wow.
have the discovery of the tomb of the king. If we confirm this, of course.
Yes.
We have the same signature for the two archaeologists who discovered the two most important funerary monuments, not only in Palenque, but in entire Mesoamerica.
Mm,
Are
mm, mm.
adjacent.
How can this not be divinely orchestrated? You
Yes.
know what I mean? Like just with indicators like that, all indicators point back to the source, to the
Yeah.
divine. It's just exquisite. It's exquisite.
Yeah.
Mm,
So this night wayspell is loaded with significance, prophetic
yes.
significance. These prophetic aspects are, of course, already reverberating in the background. We are just making them conscious
Yeah.
here, because we are. This is going to be a very, very unique resonant moon with
Yes.
those seven planets aligning with the seventh moon. There is something there that we have to pay attention, and that these doing this work every week, these updates
Mm,
help us ground
yeah.
the frequencies, and we hope that we can help more people to find this all this information useful for also for them to, like you mentioned before, to prepare body, mind, and spirit
Mm,
for these incoming energies.
exactly. Exactly.
Yes.
Well, I tell you what, as we continue to move through, let's shift gears a little bit and let's actually look at which new year we're talking about here. And we have
Yes.
some suggestions and recommendations for maybe where we can put our focus. Indeed, indeed. And as we move through our Time as Art segment this evening, again, we wanted to put forth the question kind of in a cheeky sort of way of which new year are we talking about right now? Obviously, the majority of the world's people, or a large portion of them, are celebrating the Gregorian New Year. This is the 443rd year of the Gregorian calendar. That will come to culmination and completion of that 443rd cycle on October 15th, 2025. So we've been putting that out there for people to make conscious that we're coming to the culmination, the completion of a certain cycle, because on that day, as we've been discussing as well, we know that the golden intersection of timelines is manifest in the fact that the Lillian count reaches a fractal approximation of the golden ratio of 161,803 days. And again, I say it's a fractal approximation of the golden ratio, which is 1.61803. So you can see the numbers are reflective. They're indicating to us, what's happening. And so that's why we're paying such close attention to the numbers. But let's shift gears a little bit. And as we like to reiterate, for context, the distinction between time and space. And I'd love to invite Ruben to elaborate on that.
Yes, well, for those people who have been following this broadcast, they must probably already be familiar, but it's always important to refresh these concepts again and again and again. Repetition is the mother of skill, and the more we really normalize these basic concepts within our consciousness, they inform us, and the easy the process becomes in really getting all the layers of what is happening. So the first layer, the most basic layer, is that we live in the our consciousness depends on two matrices. One is a time matrix and the other one is a space matrix. And the space matrix is the third dimension, the time matrix is the fourth dimension. And we are right now in the process of our consciousness is shifting from third dimensional consciousness to fourth dimensional consciousness. The third dimension is of the senses, so it's the world of space is ruled by the senses, is matter, is more dense, but time is of the mind because we cannot experience time with our senses. We cannot smell time or see time more than contemplating a beautiful sunset or a sunrise. But the point is that these two basic constructs are the two coordinates that we have to navigate reality. So our position in space, our coordinates in space are more or less clear because we know in which area of the world we live, which block, which street, which planet. This planet is in the solar system is in the galaxy, but we really don't know our position in space, in time. So what we are doing here is just bringing people to a new awareness that there's other coordinates in time than the Gregorian calendar. And there are other lenses to perceive time that are embedded into the synchronic order and in other disciplines like the human design and the gene keys, which is what we are going to explain. So basically, in a nutshell, the synchronic order is to time what the human design is to space. Is a new science that arrived to type of bodies of knowledge that arrive to really explain to us the mechanics of time and the mechanics of space or third dimensional reality within the human body. So we synthesize these two concepts in this graphic. This is the 13 moon matrix with all the 64 codons included in the 64 harmonics of the Solkin plus harmonic 33. And on the right, what we see is the human design wheel or the rave wheel is also called, with the diagram of all the 9 energetic points that are now open in the new human. According to this discipline, the human species is shifting, and right now we are not Homo sapiens, we are Homo sapiens in transit or human in transit. So we are all transiting from one stage of evolution that is based on 7 energy centers to one that is 9. That's what this new science is proposing. And what we see in this wheel is that if we apply the astrological principles of a natal chart to this wheel, we will see that depending on when we were born, the sun will be activating one of 64 keys or codes that are represented by the 64 hexagrams of the I Ching. So these two bodies of knowledge, which are whole systems in themselves, so they are really self-explanatory. They are contained within themselves, are independent, but they are merging in time as we progress. Some people, some other kin, and other researchers have been noticing the overlaps that are happening within these two systems. And here are the two main authors of both of these new bodies of knowledge, Dr. Jose Arguelles Balumbotan, who brought forward with his partner at the time, Lloyd Dean, all this body of knowledge connected to the law of time and the mechanics of time, the dynamics of time. And on the right is Ra Uru, who in the same year of the new dispensation of time, 1987, had like an epiphany and started to receive the human design information without having much control of what was coming in. So this is basically two human beings that serve as conduits for new information to reach the planet. And this started like a mutation in the species that was triggered by the explosion of a supernova called Supernova 1987A. That Dr. Jose Arguelles nicknamed it Quetzalcoatl because it was kind of the announcement of the end of the prophecy of Quetzalcoatl in the sky with this explosion of the supernova. Is the one that we have here in the background. Those three rings is the explosion of a star. The first time that we were able on planet Earth to register this type of phenomena with modern instruments and with the ability to have photographs. So based on those two, especially based on human design, one of the students of Rauruhu, his name is Richard Roth, he received also a complementary set of codes that give to the human design discipline even more depth and meaning. It works through the same mechanics of the sound passing through the 64 genetic codes that we all have in our DNA. And he wrote a compendium of what he received in this book called The Gene Keys, Embracing Your Higher Purpose. And how he describes the Gene Keys is a grand synthesis of practical wisdom to help guide you to a deeper understanding of yourself and your true potential, like a precious treasure map. This is from his website. This website invites you on a journey of self-discovery to find the true higher purpose of your life. So we recommend anyone who wants to know more to go to genekeys.com. You can find your holographic profile, and in this way we start to prepare in a more conscious way for this, what is called the BioGenetic New Year. So according to this entire science, this is really what is happening. The key or the hexagram that is being activated on the January 21st to the 27th is the codon 41, which is the only codon within the human DNA that starts a sequence. No other codon that performs that function of starting a DNA sequence. So that's why it's considered the BioGenetic New Year. So synchronistically, I learned about this back in 2019 on a January 1st. I was at an event in Lake Titicaca called the Cosmic Convergence, with artists and speakers from different parts of the world teaching new disciplines. And I was on my way out, and I decided to go and pick up my bag at one of the rooms that were used to give the lectures. And when I entered the room, there was a slide with the Solkin in front of me. So I decided to stay. And the next thing that the speaker was saying, his name is Idon Clark, was saying, "I'm sorry to let you know that today is not the start of the year. The start of the year really is on January 22nd or 21st, because this is what is happening." He explained a little bit about the system and how it works, and how on that day, the passing of the sun through that genetic key will activate a sequence of events that we are just starting to comprehend what they are, but basically we're in the process of lighting up those little lines of codes that are within each chromosome. The DNA material that is the how do you call those? Well, the spirals that are within the DNA. And if you want to show on the graphic on the right side what is happening and what is the synchronicity behind these two systems, the law of time and the line.
Absolutely. Well, as you stated before, these lenses or these knowledge bases represent new knowledge and information that was catalyzed with the explosion of supernova 1987A. So it's important to reiterate that, just so we begin to understand, what does new knowledge look like? Well, it looks like a major influence from a celestial body that has its rippling effect through all creation. So it's being informed by, in this case, what we have named supernova 1987A, nicknamed Quetzalcoatl by Dr. Jose Arguelles. So in light of that, what we look at is the advent of new knowledge that comes online with, as you mentioned, Rahu Ruhu, and then that gives way through Richard Rudd and his epiphany to the gene keys. Both the rave calendar and the BioGenetic New Year observe the real start of the new year being according to gene key 41, or in that particular window, when the sun does transit through that astrological house of Aquarius and ignite gene key 41, basically. Now, what's interesting, and we came to appreciate this over the past several years, is that the programming partner, the way that somebody's hologenetic profile in the gene keys works, is every gene key has a programming partner. And when you look at that radial wheel of the 64 hexagrams, right, 64 codon, then you can appreciate that every respective programming partner is directly opposite the given gene key. So what we're looking at here in the upper left is the highlighted in green gene key 41, which is the start codon for all 64 of the codon. Gene key 41 is the start codon, and it is directly programmed by gene key 31. That is its direct opposite. Now, the beauty of that is that gene key 31 codes the beginning of the 13 moon year. And it, because again of the drift or the shift in that transit of the sun, it can move between July 24th, July 25th to begin the gene key 31 directly opposite gene key 41. So what that indicates to us is that whereas the genetic new year, the biogenetic new year, is activating our genetics, we have our galactic aspects being activated or galactivated with the galactic new year. And these are both events that are, I would like to say, stabilizing each other, not just programming each other, but actually anchoring each other. And I feel like they're playing off of each other.
Yeah.
So it's beautiful because, again, the fact that we even have this frame of reference is occurring as a result of supernova 1987A. That's how important that wave of consciousness is to our current, experience as life on this planet. That we are now equipped with new knowledge to navigate an ever evolving, ever awakening reality.
Yeah.
Okay, we're coming out of a very, very deep period of slumber and disarray in many cases. And so to basically get ourselves into right arrangement with the cosmos, we've been fortunate to receive these gifts. Some would attribute, for example, the 13 moon calendar and the synchronic order itself as effectively a tool of the Galactic Federation, which I think is a really interesting way of framing that, but it really resonates as true. And similarly, we understand there's a higher order to the contemplative work of Richard Rudd and what he's been able to synthesize in the gene keys.
Yeah.
So that's come along at a very, auspicious time. I think the Gene Keys was initially published in 2006 for the first time. And in that, he also explores what he refers to relative to gene key 55, which is another gene key to pay attention to, that's a gene key that's correlated with all of humanity. Everybody among humanity is basically impacted by gene key 55. It's the collective gene key that's coming online here shortly. Now, there's a beautiful window if you observe the harmonic convergence of 1987 as one instance of the transition of the activation, and that referred to again as the harmonic convergence. And then you have in the year 2012 what's referred to as the melodic resonance. So you're moving from harmonic to melodic, and now in 2027, which we're anticipating. Again, anticipation is the gift of Gene Key 41. So we're anticipating in 2027 the advent of what is referred to as the rhythmic symphony. And I resonate with that as an increasing awareness of the divine orchestration that we are not only witness to, but that we're participants within. We're participants of this. It's an interactive situation. And this, again, is one of the reasons why having these self-reflective tools is so critical, because it helps you orient yourself to yourself. Now, obviously, you're getting a lot of information, and it's really meant as guideposts. It's not meant to be a dogma. It's not meant to be any of that. These are meant to be tools to assist in your shift, okay, as we sift through our shift, so to speak. We have to move through the things that we actually are not, even though we may have taken on identities as something we are. What essentially is present, I think, in both systems, in the galactic signatures, the galactic Zolkin, that harmonic module sort of cosmology, as well as the gene keys, is, again, these are illuminating aspects of ourself, our multidimensional self. In fact, like we are much more dynamic than we are even led on to believe, because we've been suffering under suppression and amnesia for so long that this is just the beginnings of us beginning to return to the light. Literally, even though we're in that time of year, also we're in the time of year where we're returning to the light. But similarly, as the dawning of a new harmonic in consciousness, we are returning to the light of how everything is absolutely interrelated. So if anything is being indicated, it's the beautiful unity in the tapestry of creation that actually becomes illumined by this. And then you begin to utilize these lenses to get a better appreciation for the purpose of any given encounter or relationship or experience in your life, because now you have these lenses through which to get a different perception. It's like the idea of having a sense-making tool. Like, let's make sense of who I am or who you are or what this situation may mean. And then it gets even more fun when you begin to apply the factors in combined situations in a relational field where you combine your signature with another person's signature, or you look at your hologenetic profile in comparison to a family member or a loved one, right? Or your child or what have you. But one of the things we wanted to do tonight, just to point to, is, we are now in a time where new knowledge is available, new information is available, things that perhaps our forebears didn't have in their experience. And that's because things are ever evolving. And so now not only are they evolving, but they're also accelerating. And so in that acceleration, there's a rapidity of us regaining multiple strands of our DNA. I don't know if we went too deep on this before. Maybe we touched on it, but I mean, there are some instances in our collective past where we've been experimented on.
Yeah.
As human beings, the human species has been dumbed down, all the way down, because we actually inherently are comprised of higher conscious energy, information, higher beings went into the creation of what we now call human beings. But in that process, they didn't want humans to have the same level, let's just say, of aptitude or capacity. So certain, experiments were performed to suppress and limit who we are.
Yeah.
That's one interpretation of what's happened over the past 6,000 years. Now, when we do look outside in the world and observe, we can see how that's a very plausible argument that, it looks like something did happen to human beings and we got, interfered with. And at some point, though, when that 6,000 year period is over, there's a shift, and we've arrived at the completion of that cycle. That's already happened. We're now in this sort of transitional mode, as we're kind of waking up from the amnesia and beginning to, you just come to again. And it's an entirely new panorama before us now as we're waking up. It's not like anything we've ever experienced before. And so that's a little bit to do the dynamism of what we look at when we see this true new year, that being related to the biogenetic new year, also counterbalancing another true new year, that being the 13 moon galactic new year. So both markers being absolutely accurate and appropriate, and them also balancing and dancing with each other. And that's the beauty of it. And that's why these systems aren't necessarily isolated incidents. They are instances of us being seeded with knowledge at this time on the planet, that these thought seeds, these inspirations could germinate and come to flower, bud, blossom, and bloom, like my elder Baba Rasti says. So that's the process that we're actually navigating right now. And, a lot of it is, again, being amplified by the sun. Yet not only that, we're also shifting into this phase where we're about to enter this really remarkable, auspicious space of creation. Okay. And I mentioned earlier that there, by some accounts, science is recognizing, humans are recognizing that we live in a hologram. Okay. Meaning we have absolute influence over the experience that we may call life. And it's subjective. Everybody has their own synchronicity. Nobody can take a synchronicity away from you. It's yours to observe. And similarly in this, we're in a holographic experience. We're in a hologram in terms of this earth. And when we talk about manifestation and things like that. Now, one of the things we want to recognize is we're also influenced by the celestial bodies. And as we've been speaking about here for a little while, we know that we're coming into this window of opportunity where we're entering a new phase of gestation, we're going to say. And in that gestation, we're actually entering a hologram womb of potency, because we're entering this sacred space of 260 days. Basically, once we hit Kin 204, we will be literally 260 days away from the golden intersection of timelines. Now let's point to the fact that today we are 20 days to that point.
Mm-hmm.
So we're a sequence of 20 days, meaning all the character types associated with the 1320 count, meaning all the 20 tribes. We'll travel through all of those until we arrive at that yellow solar seed marker,
Yeah.
right? Kin 204.
Yeah.
Today we're at 183. Okay. Tomorrow we're at 184. Thus, 20 days to that marker of 260 days, that one more Zolkin to go until we arrive at the golden intersection of timelines.
Mm-hmm.
And there will be a lot of things that we're going to begin to present out here publicly to celebrate this. We're looking forward to having new guests come on in the episodes to follow who can help elucidate more about the gene keys and human design and some of the other celestial markers, energetic markers, spiritual shifts, and transformations that are afoot. Things that we can really begin to take account of and incorporate into our experience so that we can navigate this with as a much attunement as possible. And so being in this resonant moon of attunement is going to be a very fortunate thing, because that also further fortifies our attunement as we approach this planetary parade of the 7 planets that's coming along. And as you can see on the graphic on the screen, there's also an interpretation resulting from the gene keys specifically that also highlights the significance, the core significance of the star Sirius. And Ruben, maybe you want to speak on that a little bit.
Yes, well, everything is related, and this is just another layer or overlap of relationship in which we the first thing that came to our attention was this ongoing planetary parade, because let's say that this is not just going to be one night, one specific moment, but is happening right now. It's like we were mentioning last 7 days ago on last episode. The actors or these planets, these entities, are just lining up for a picture that is going to be this picture that is going to take place from January 21st to 25. And I think Mercury is not there, but it seems like it's going to be in that range of view to complete the 7 planets.
Yeah.
So because it's taking place on the resonant moon, right when we are transiting that midpoint of this, the heart of the 7th moon, and it's activating the codon, codon of 41, which is the only one that starts sequences. So this sequence that starts with the gene key 41. If we go, let's go back to the last slide, because I want to read before we dive into this gene key. And on the previous slide, we can see that there is a correspondence between the planets and our genetic embodiment. And this is the gene keys star lore, which is the aspect that is connected to the stars, because it's not just what is happening inside our genes and inside the DNA, but it's also what are these stars, how are they influencing the process. So this is what it says. Gene keys star lore, capturing the firmament. An important aspect of the 7 sacred seals teaching is as a means of aligning the macrocosm to the microcosm. The 7 stars are an ancient teaching connected to both the 7 stars of the Great Bear and the 7 sisters of the Pleiades. Each of the seals is a portal to a field of higher consciousness, and each of these fields has a connection to 7 great portals to celestial grace in the firmament. Every gene key has a relationship to a particular star, And thus, the seven stars that relate to the seven seals have a deep import in our place within the cosmos. The stars in the night sky are far more than balls of helium and hydrogen. They are the physical manifestations of those inner plane entities that we call angels or archangels. And we see that there are seven main stars within this star lore of the Gene Keys that Richard Rudd received, and the star Sirius happens to be at the center. It's the brightest star in the sky, and it happens to be the main protagonist of behind this planetary parade. It's funny that everyone is speaking about all the planets that are aligning, but no one is saying that the backdrop would be Sirius.
It's kind of interesting. Sirius has a bad rap, gets a bad rap because obviously it's the occulted one. Even though it's the brightest one, it's the one most occulted in all of the world systems, the mystical systems, right? So, but at this point, Sirius is front and center and will not be denied. I think that's really what we're stepping into. Is there's a higher galactic order that will not be denied. It cannot be suppressed, oppressed, or ignored any longer. It won't be. It's going to be celebrated. And let's look at the qualities then as we shift in toward this, Gene Key 41 coinciding with January 21st. I'd like to make the point, though, that every day has its corollary gene key. So when we looked at December 31st, January 1st, it was interesting to note that the gene key associated with that, the shadow of that gene key, happens to be struggle. So there's a quality of struggle in the shadow realm dealing with or that is present when we look at gene key 38, which always codes that Gregorian end of the year, beginning of a new Gregorian year. It's always coded with the shadow of struggle. Very interesting. Now, the gift of perseverance and the civic quality of honor is invited in that situation. But just to give a sense that that's an interesting quality to observe. Now, when we get to Gene Key 41, there's a shadow of fantasy that we're having to come to terms with, because, we might like to apply a shadow of fantasy over otherwise what's happening. But then there is a gift of anticipation, which is really something. Anticipation really seems to be present right now, especially this year, because we've been anticipating this golden intersection of timelines. There's a lot of anticipation. We've been amplifying even for that. But just to know that the BioGenetic New Year is coded with that gift of anticipation that is also there to meet the acidic quality of emanation. Emanation. So we invite people to visit genekeys.com if you want to learn more about the actual meanings of the shadow, the gift, the acidic quality of all 64 gene keys. Then certainly do yourself a favor. There are a lot of free resources out there online, and genekeys.com has a lot of wonderful free tools, as well as we certainly encourage you to buy the whole book. It's certainly worth having in your collection.
It's a
absolutely,
absolutely. A store of wisdom, and for those people who are new to all this information, just don't get overwhelmed. Go step by step. Follow your intuition. Sometimes one little word is the trigger that ignites the search within. What we can say is that according to these tools, this is a special window to really prepare ourselves. So when we receive, for instance, when I learn about this information and the importance of having the BioGenetic New Year in our awareness, this is happening consciously or unconsciously. it's taking place. And there is a mutation process that has been happening. We just can't make it conscious.
Yes.
And those the first step to make it conscious is to learn the basic concepts, like for instance, in each of the 64 gene keys, there is like 3 bands of frequency called the shadow, the gift, and the CD. And they really correspond to the off, on, and the path from switching it from off to on. So we have 64 superpowers or cities that are becoming active, and around every 6 days we activate a new set of codons. And there is a reading to do about this shadow, gift, and the city to contemplate. But basically, the importance of, and we will speak more when we have our guests here, fortunately, we will speak more about this quality of emanation, because this is what is happening, and that's the CD, or the superpower that we have, emanation of light. And this is what the activation on one side of codon 41, and on the other side, which is the perfect at the midpoint of the year, July 25th to 30, is the what would you call the programming partner, which is really the one acts like the key, and the one acts like the lock. So basically, it's if we have a codon that has 3 yang lines on top of 3 yin lines, the programming partner would be the opposite formation. So these are important aspects that we can use to really activate both hemispheres, to keep our consciousness really observing the parallels and the opposites as pairs, and not as the polarity of forces.
Yeah.
They are really complementary, and
Yes.
the more we, let's say, see or teach ourselves how to perceive everything through that lens of the opposites, and if I see in myself a shadow, what is the opposite that is behind that shadow, that is wanting to emerge, that is wanting to emanate in this case. So this is going to be like a wonderful journey of how many episodes do we have to this?
Well, this is 38 more. 38 more.
Yeah. No, but until we have 2 more episodes to go.
Okay. Yeah, my bad. I jumped way ahead.
No, yeah, actually, our not this week, but the next week after that, would be on the 20th of January of all days.
Yeah, exactly.
It would be right.
We're going to be in the mix with all those contrasting influences vying for your attention.
Yeah.
So no, that'll be definitely something really remarkable to navigate together. So I tell you what, we've definitely enjoyed quite a long broadcast tonight. We're going in deep, but it's been amazing. And we'll tap in really momentarily here with what's next, and we'll take it on home. Perfect. And as we mentioned, we are 280 days away from the golden intersection of timelines. This means quite a lot for us because we've been keeping a conscious active count since 1440 days out from the golden intersection of timelines. So now being at 280 days, wow, it just seems like so long ago when this observation began. And here we are, years at this point into it. So we are absolutely moving forward with divine anticipation for what is to come. But we do know that October 14th, the Lillian count will reach 161,802 days, and the following day we are calling Phi Day, October 15th, 2025. Phi Day. We'll go more deeply into that on the next episode, as we'll also talk about the fractal nature of time. And that'll be a fun exploration. We'll see who our surprise guest may be for that. But certainly stay tuned with us here as we continue to take this journey together with you. We encourage you to scan the QR on the screen. And if you haven't already done so, please sign our open petition, calendar referendum 2028, and Declaration of Universal World Peace. This petition is 8 years old at this point. It's been a long time, and we're definitely anticipating that exponential curve effect to also take effect with this effort as we begin to be more public about this effort to make the golden intersection of timelines a conscious thing, as well as calendar reform. We're still very much championing the shift to a 13-month, 28-day standard, a harmonic standard, as the untried solution. And speaking of which, we invite you to also scan the QR and visit our website, theharmonicfactor.com, where you can download a PDF of the current year 13 moon 28-day harmonic synchronometer for the Blue Rhythmic Storm year, NS137. So please, we encourage you to share, this podcast, the links, with anybody you think that will be resonant with what we're holding space for here. And we certainly invite you to chime in on the chat, either the live chat or on our YouTube channel at The Harmonic Factor, where you can find a wonderful assortment of videos. I was looking last, I think we have about 104 different videos on the website. But that said, we invite you to like and subscribe, click the bell for notifications, stay tuned with us on this journey. YouTube is the primary place to connect with us. We also invite you to visit us on the Facebook page, Harmonic Convergence 2020 through 2028, and our Instagram account at The Galactic Spin. We're inviting you to follow us on Instagram at The Galactic Spin. That's our Instagram account. So I want to send a special shout out to Ishel again for that amazing opening video and for all of her dutiful commitment and effort on the regular, everyday basis just to help support this movement to have momentum. And the same with Alejandra and all that she holds the space for and helps to move through the cosmos in such a good way. So we give great thanks for our partners and for their hearts and their commitment. And for our families, including all of you tuning in, because in La Ketch, Alakin, we are all related. I am another yourself. We give thanks to the way showers, and again, a big special shout out to Stephanie South as she navigates into her solar galactic return, a beautiful, sacred moment. So we wish her all the very best, boundless galactic blessings on her solar galactic return, 52 years on Kin 185. And we look forward to tapping back in with you all later on the 8th day of this current wave spell. We'll be right back here to tap in with you on episode 15. As I mentioned, we'll get a little bit more fractal on that episode, and then we'll approach the January 20th episode just the day before the BioGenetic New Year. We'll approach that in a very coherent way. So thank you again to everybody tuning in and staying on with us. Sometimes these things become very timeless, and obviously there's a lot to share, but certainly thank you for anybody who's made it this far. Bless your heart. But we give great thanks to you and for you. So that, my dear brother, I think we are coming
We
to
are
a
complete.
close. I think we're complete. I think we are
Yeah.
absolutely complete. So yeah, my man, let me find something to send us out on here. Something awesome, and we will tap back in together very, very soon, my dear brother.
In Lakesh, brother.
Lakin, my brother. Talk with you soon.
Tune in with the Galactic Spin podcast and expand your view.